Go.
I'm Joyce and I live at Newton, and this is about what used to happen when I went home from school doing homework or household chores. I attended the Peterborough Primary School between 1943 and 1946 when we lived up there, and as the eldest child of my parents was expected to help both inside and outside the home. When I first got home from school, out of the school uniform, always wore uniforms of course, and put on my overalls, which were boys and navy blue, and I did not like them one bit. Went outside to do some work in either the half acre of the veggie garden that Dad ran or the chicken run. Mum had lots of white leghorn chickens in the backyard. There were always eggs to collect, the roosting nest straw to be changed, the droppings on the earth scraped up with a shovel and put into the compost bin, bran and pollard to mix up. I love that, the lovely smell of hot bran and pollard, and then you put the chopped lucerne in to feed them. Any dead hens to collect and put to one side for Dad to bury, and then if you had time or thought about it or he didn't remind you, to just check the wire enclosure because we had foxes and feral dogs up there. I preferred to work in the garden. It meant a bit of free time. One of the things, even to this day, I love watching is the way the water runs down the channels in the garden beds. And of course in those days you had various plots and there'd be the bits of iron that you'd put at the end of the run so that you created a mini flood to clear or to water an area. We had our own windmill and pump. I could prime the pump and set the windmill from an early age, and our two very large tanks were always full of clear, slightly brackish water from the well, and we could go to sleep of a night with the sound of the pump going. It was always very, very calming influence. Dad got his veggie seed sent up from his father, who lived at Gilberton and still had contacts with the East End market growers, so they were pretty good top-grade seeds. Dad did his best with doing jobs around the home, but he was on-rostered. Shifts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as a boiler maker in the railways. This is the wartime, of course, and with essential wartime troop trains coming through at an almost continuous rate, his time was severely limited, and many of the jobs were left to Mum and me. I'd go back inside when tea was ready and have a stand-up shower in a basin in the bath. You conserve water. Then that was a matter of standing in the bath. Mum would pour the water over you, and then you get out the basin, she'd pour the water over you again. An evening milk would take precedence over homework. Homework was usually just spelling and arithmetic, very basic stuff, and not very much of it in those days. After dishes were washed, we'd sit round and chatter. Hands were never idle. We were either, my sister and I, would be learning our knitting stitches or doing an embroidery sampler before going to bed. While Dad was away, Mum would read to us. We always had reading before we went to sleep. So without going on with too much more, I was pretty busy during the week.